Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the new generation took over the WWF. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Bartlett, you're shaped kind of like a shmoo, if you would.
Oh, how insulting.
Oh my God. What the hell is a shmoo?
I could give you an update on what a shmoo is. I looked it up.
Okay, save it for the match because we'll bring it up then. My goodness.
Okay.
Joe Gimateo.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tammy Faye Baker's favorite podcast host, Jason Bartlett.
Oh my goodness. Yep. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw at a time. But first, we have an update on the cock situation. Joe, what do you got for us?
The cock has grown. It's not quite full size, morning wood size yet, but all of the Raw episodes are on Peacock now.
Excellent.
Here in the U.S., so...
Our source, B. Dudensky, he's no longer needed.
Yeah, we fired him. And
power bombed him.
Yes. And yeah, our episodes are back, so that's exciting. Now when we say, hey, you should go watch this episode of Raw, or in this case, tonight's episode, you should not watch this episode of Raw, people can actually go do it.
All right, I thank you, sir. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on November 27th, 1995. This Raw was recorded at the Richmond Coliseum in Richmond, Virginia, and features Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. Last week on Raw, the unthinkable happened when Shawn Michaels collapsed. We got a couple of shots of that crowd plant that Joe referenced last week, the cute, concerned brunette. All in all, this was a tasteful little segment that, of course, leads into the Nitro Light entrance music. Two conflicting tones and energies going on there. And then, of course, welcome everyone to Monday Night Raw! That continues the trend of going from serious to just out-of-this-world energy. Tonight in action, Undertaker versus Kama, and the final opportunity to regain that urn that was melted down into a chain. You guys remember back when that happened? How many months ago was that now?
That was a long time ago, but I'll tell you what, I'm excited for this match, that's for sure.
As well you should be. I expect it to be a barn burner. Also tonight, the return of Brother Love to our screens. But as we were getting this information, we were also getting entrance music for our first match of the night. Ahmed Johnson defeats Radford by pinfall in 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Ryan, since we don't have any new jobbers this week, where in the archives can our listeners find the Jobber of the Week segment on Radford?
Yeah, if you're interested in getting a little bit of a deep dive on Radford and his career, you can go back and listen to the September 11th, 1995 episode, and he was our Jobber of the Week in that episode. So go back to that one and give it a listen if you're interested in Radford.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yes.
Since you are the expert in enhancement talent, you enhance our talents every week here at Wrasslin Raw. Is Radford still a jobber?
Fantastic question.
Do you want me to address it now, or do you want me to address it during the match? Because I actually address it during my breakdown of the match.
Well, let's wait for that then.
Interesting.
Keep me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. Consider my ears perked. Here in the match, I cannot understate how fucking huge Ahmed Johnson is as he is coming out to his entrance, by God, or as Vince calls him, All-Man Ahmed. Right off the bat, these guys were working really well together. Rad did a great job of making Ahmed look good. Bob Backlund is in the audience campaigning Can we please get a quick vote on this Bob Backlund appearance, pro or con? Anybody?
That's a negative.
Okay.
Things aren't looking good for Bob.
No, the negatives have been stacking up lately.
Well, there's plenty of time before the next election. All right, that is a mark in the con column. Thank you. The scissors kick from Ahmed Johnson, followed by a second scissors kick, and then into the spine buster. A great series. It is good to see that Ahmed is working on that kind of movement and power moves and chaining them together. He is growing in leaps and bounds as far as talent goes, as far as, compared to his previous matches. But, oh boy, that finisher. I think the Tiger Bomb, right? That was a Tiger Bomb. We never really did kind of settle it, but Vince calls it a double underhook maneuver. That looked a bit rough. Rad wasn't able to quite get to the flat of his back on the way down, and he looked like he took it a bit too much across the shoulders, maybe a little bit of the nape of the neck, but all in all, everybody got up and walked away. It wasn't too bad, but we've got something here for Ahmed to work on, I think. That was definitely the finisher in the match because we immediately get the pinfall and 3 counts. So I thought this was a pretty good match. Joe, what did you think of it?
I think that Ahmed, you can tell he's green for sure. He doesn't throw great punches and stuff like that. I mean, he's not a technical guy, obviously. He sort of reminds me of a little bit of Goldberg, like when Goldberg was on his early run. He's just a guy that's out there kicking somebody's ass. He's not really having a wrestling match. So it's a totally different style than most guys that we're used to seeing every week. So it's something different. I enjoy his matches. I've enjoyed all of his matches so far. Radford looks to be a little bit confused. Like his gimmick is almost like, it's like he's being a grunge guy, but also looks like a drunk Irish guy. You know what I mean? Like kind of mixes the two. Yeah, he's getting a little bit of a feature here. He got a formal entrance, so that was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy. Like I said, I enjoyed the match. I think Ahmed Johnson has looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be in agreement here about Ahmed's beginnings. He looks a bit green. I thought probably his worst was at the very beginning of the match. He started off with some punches in the corner, and they just looked a little bit too worked. But after that, it seemed like he kind of warmed up working with Radford here, and they started really working good together before they were interrupted by Bob Backlund in the crowd. But anytime Ahmed, like you said, with those scissor kicks, the spine buster, they look so powerful, and he does them with just such authority that, it's hard not to be excited kind of when he does them, because they look like they really hurt someone. And yes, that Tiger Bomb was definitely, that was one of the scariest parts. He almost drove Rad's head right through the mat, but Rad, he came out okay. And all in all, I thought a very solid match. It was entertaining, little bit of sloppiness here and there, but all in all, I thought these guys worked pretty good together. And I know if I was in the crowd, I would have had my eyes glued. I would have been interested in this match. But to address the Radford jobber thing, I have to say he is still a jobber only because they made it pretty evident that he's part of the Body Donnas now, and that he's lost some weight, which he has. So he has trimmed down a bit. But, I'm not sure that anyone in the Body Donnas isn't a jobber right now, to be honest with you.
Oh, my goodness. Dropping bombs.
Hey, Skip, that's all he does anymore. He jobs out to people. And
two jobbers.
Yeah, to jobbers. And Radford, I don't think has won a match yet. So he's a jobber. And now you have Sunny, she's leaving town with Shawn Michaels. So, I mean, I think we just get the Body Donnas is a jobber factory. It's like the Dark Order.
Oh, man.
Yes. Very good answer.
Yeah. I was wondering, honestly, which way you were going to go with it. I really thought that you might fall on the no longer a jobber status, but you decided to just quadruple down on it, and that's perfectly fine.
Bury them all.
Yeah. Well, after the match, Lawler was there to interview Ahmed Johnson, and boy, was this a ham-fisted way to go about setting up a feud. Apparently, Dean Douglas has been talking shit out of nowhere and for no reason other than to start shit. But in what is honestly a surprising turn. Now, keep in mind, while we're going through this interview, Dean Douglas just comes out of nowhere. He literally physically comes to the ring. While Lawler is saying these things to Ahmed, Dean Douglas has been saying this about you backstage and blah, blah, blah. Dean Douglas comes out, and in what I thought was going to be a shoving match or a pull apart or something like that, it gets turned on its head. Ahmed basically says, fuck this, let's go right now, and climbs into the ring. I don't know why. I was so genuinely surprised at that. I had assumed that we'd have a whole bunch of talk and no action. And while this isn't going to turn into an actual match right here and now, this is 10 times more exciting than I expected it to be, and honestly, a kind of a good way to get a little bit of a feud started, even though the start of it was just kind of shitty. The curtain continues to get lifted a teeny bit as Lawler, during the scuffle, yells at Vince to get in there and help, with Vince replying, well, I don't know what you want me to do. There's a commercial break then for the World Tour de Force, and we come back for an update on Shawn Michaels. This amounts to Shawn Michaels having post-concussion syndrome from his just disgusting, rapacious attack in Syracuse from those squads of rabid soldiers. And this post-concussion syndrome that he's apparently suffering from has only been exacerbated by the Survivor Series wildcard match where he then took a razor's edge, took one of Sid's power bombs, got a leg drop to the head by Yokozuna, and finally, last week, multiple enziguris from Owen Hart. I can see how that all might aggravate post-concussion syndrome. Shawn Michaels will eventually be returning as flamboyant as ever. Before we move on, I'd like to hear what you guys think about the setup for Ahmed Johnson and Dean Douglas at In Your House, and the update on Shawn Michaels. Joe, please take that first.
Well, I'll jump ahead and say that we are getting Razor Ramon versus Dean Douglas again next week. So having him come out and get in Ahmed's face makes no sense. Like you're getting an Intercontinental Championship match next week. So why do you care about Ahmed Johnson? But I do think that it made Ahmed Johnson look good because, again, it makes him look like the guy who just kicks people's asses. Like he's getting in the ring and saying, come on, come get some. And Dean is held back by 2 referees and nothing happened. So I think it made Ahmed Johnson look good. So I didn't hate it. For Shawn Michaels, so again, Vince overdoing it with the adjectives, the most flamboyant, athletic, resilient, just everything he can think of. But I really laughed at the one part where Vince says, Shawn has been suffering from depression. And right as he says it, they show a clip of him hitting Jim Cornette in the ass with a tennis racket. So that was fucking hilarious. But yeah, I think they're playing this Shawn Michaels thing. They're playing it up pretty well.
I was a bit confused at first with the way King was kind of talking for Dean Douglas and then the way he came out. So I agree with you that part was a little bit shaky. But then once Ahmed kind of works off Douglas saying that the ring is his classroom, when he rolls into the ring and says, then ring the bell, let's start class, I mean, that was great. Yeah. I mean, that was a great way to just say, fuck you, come in here and let's get it done right now. And then, yeah, the refs, unfortunately, are able to hold him back, 2 of them. But whatever, we're going to set this up. Maybe we'll get it down the road here. But agree with you, Joe. Great way to make Ahmed Johnson look really strong. The package here about Shawn Michaels and his post-concussion syndrome, I thought it was funny that the way it started, it was almost like it was brought to you by Twix. The way Vince kind of set it up.
That's right.
He was like, his injury brought to you by Twix. I agree. Very good way to just kind of set up some time for him to take a little bit of time off. And I suppose it is believable if he was mugged by 99 thugs that just took their turn beating on him, that maybe he does have some residual effects from the attack. So, yeah, good job on that, keeping me interested.
If you're suffering from depression, eat a Twix.
All After our Shawn Michaels update, we're going to be going now into our next match. Aja Kong and Tomoko Watanabe defeat Alundra Blaze and Kyoko Inoue by pinfall in 6 minutes and 5 seconds. First, though, let's hear from Hop Sing fucking Dudinsky.
Is that what he called him?
Yeah, he called him Hop Sing.
I wondered. I rewound it like 3 times and I couldn't tell.
Yep, at the start of this match that is staffed most prevalently by Asian women, we're going to call Barry Dudinsky Hop Sing.
Yikes.
Yep, he's in there with a great Bret Hart shirt, but we can't stay with him too long because this match gets going pretty quickly. This is terrible right off the bat. I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what. Aja Kong was not entertaining to watch as the starter here. What was entertaining was Vince saying that she must have some extra chromosomes before calling Aja Kong a schmo. Ryan, now that you've teased it, please let us know what the fuck is a schmo.
So I had to look it up. I didn't know it offhand. So Vince was bringing up a schmo is a 1940s cartoon creature created by Al Cap. It was shaped like a bowling pin.
Oh.
I mean, I guess, yeah, she does kind of look like a bowling pin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can kind of see that, actually. She does. She is very bowling pin shaped. Wow.
Yeah.
What a fucking reference.
Yeah.
So you're saying that this is in like newspaper comics?
No, it was like animated cartoons from the 1940s.
Huh. Okay.
If you just look up SHMOO, you will find pictures of it and you'll go, oh yeah, all right, I see the resemblance.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. My goodness, today I learned. I was really concerned about that for a while because I just didn't know. After the whole extra chromosomes thing, I just expected it to be the worst possible thing he could say. I had to note here that it amazed me how slow the Japanese ladies were and how many moves they telegraphed, considering they could have had open conversations with each other in the ring to call spots, and nobody would have fucking known. That red smear is still on Alundra's ass from the Survivor Series match. I think she needs to wash her tights. And before you know it, the match is over. And I can't say that I'm unhappy about it. Nothing really to note here. Ryan, please, what did you think of this match?
It was bad. And I knew it was going to be bad when it started off with the King busting a poor joke about one of their names, saying, isn't that who broke up the Beatles? And, you know, you knew it was just going to be downhill from there. Aja Kong, apparently she's related to the Head Shrinkers. When we start off, there's a few headbutts, but they don't phase her. She just screams. So the work was really bad. Yeah, I mean, this was not good at all. I mean, at one point, I believe it was Inoue. She tried to do, I believe it was her. She did like a cartwheel elbow into the corner. And then after she did it, she just kind of walked away like slowly and then out of the ring. She just looked like she was confused where she was at or trying to find the back line at an amusement park or something. Just everything about this did not come off good at all. Maybe slightly better than Survivor Series, only because there was less of them and it was shorter. But there were so many tassels in this match, I thought someone was going to summon Marty Jannetty. But
no.
Thankfully, for the first time in a long time, he did not show up. So that was nice. But yeah, this was really bad. I don't know what to say. I mean, bad stuff.
I agree with everything. Maybe slightly better than Survivor Series, which isn't saying much. I think we all gave that a dud.
I think I gave it 1. I was being generous.
Well, Dave Meltzer gave it like 1,000 stars.
Yeah, it was a 5-star match.
Yeah, but it was still bad. And it's really surprising to me because I know that Alundra Blaze was working with some of these girls in Japan, and I hear nothing but good things about it from, you know, some of these podcasts and stuff that I listen to. But yeah, this was horrible. And it's really sad. But Aja Kong, I think she looked slightly better than the pay-per-view match, the Survivor Series match. Well, aside from almost paralyzing that one girl, the Inoue, she looked okay. She had a nice move that was sort of like a coffin drop but it was an elbow. It was actually pretty smooth, but outside of that, this whole thing was just really bad. So, and the red paint on the ass is just it's not a good look, brother.
Yeah. It's not very flattering.
Well, not just that, but like, it's been, I don't know, she's had enough time. Why couldn't she just wash it?
Yeah,
something. You'd think it's not like we're talking about Vader with his stinky leather mask and tights and shit. This is a woman that you would expect to have a modicum of hygiene. Just wash the fucking thing.
Maybe it doesn't come out. Maybe it stained it.
Maybe she rubbed it up on Brother Love.
Yeah.
Before.
Puts a whole new value to the phrase getting all red-assed. All right. Well, let's go back and take a look at Diesel's temper tantrum after his loss to Bret Hart at Survivor Series. We also get some highlights of that great promo that Diesel cut for us whenever he was calling out Titan Tower. But next up, Brother Love is here to interview Bret Hart in the ring, and we get a solid view up in the bright red mush of Brother Love for way too long at the start of this. I didn't know how to feel about this going into it, but I quickly was not entertained by it. At the outset of all of it, I honestly really didn't know what the point of all of it was, other than to just bring Brother Love off the shelf. It's kind of what it seems like. Of course, he was going to harp on the Hart family, that old chestnut that always seems to come up in this era. And next, of course, the Hitman will be taking on his brother-in-law and making his mother cry all at the same time. The Hitman lays down a great line, though. In order to achieve great things, you have to live like you're never going to die. That was a pretty great line there. He goes on to call Diesel cheap over the way their match ended, and somehow the Undertaker got thrown into this mix conversation-wise. I think it was more just name-dropping than anything serious, but Bret managed to avoid the promptings from Brother Love. And of course, they brought up Wembley Stadium in 1992 and the Bulldogs' victory over Bret Hart there. But just when I thought we could move on, Bob Backlund comes out of nowhere with the cross-face chicken wing. This is deja vu all over again. And can
That's
I
a
get
negative.
Another count?
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's like a fucking nightmare.
Ah, man. 2 in one night. He's racking them up.
Yep. We're going to end this with a cut to commercial, so I now have to ask, Ryan, what did you think of the Brother Love segment, Bret Hart's promo, and the fact that we've apparently cycled back around through Bret's opponents to come back to Bob fucking Backlund again?
You know, up until Bob Backlund ruining it at the end there, it wasn't bad. It wasn't too long. Like you said, it was just kind of an excuse to bring Brother Love back. But I remember from childhood always, I don't know about loving Brother Love, but having fond memories of the I love you, you know, like it's always been something very distinct when you think back to that time period of wrestling. So I guess welcome back, Brother Love, but he just kept on cutting off the Hitman until Bret did finally grab his arm, grab the mic, and I thought cut a pretty good promo on the Bulldog. And then, as we've already said, ruined by Bob Backlund coming in and bringing up this ridiculous feud that we had, over a year ago at this point. We didn't care about it then, and I sure as hell don't care about it now.
Yeah, Vince enjoyed using this as a platform to make fun of Bruce Pritchard's weight the whole time, calling him portly and just getting a bunch of digs in on Bruce. But Bruce Pritchard does a really good job at being one of the most annoying people ever on on WWF TV. So he does his job pretty well as Brother Love. And yeah, the random talking about the Undertaker, that was strange. And if anyone was going to show up, I expected the Bulldog to show up and maybe have a little scuffle with Bret, but we got
Diesel
Bob friggin' Backlund.
There's a handful of people, even the Undertaker, since they brought him up.
Nope, howdy doody.
Yeah, not happy about that. I'll just leave it at that. That's some bullshit. We'll come back from that commercial break and go straight into our next match. Hunter Hirst Helmsley defeats John Crystal by pinfall in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. First off, John Crystal is the other jobber in this week's episode. Ryan, where can our listeners find him in our archives?
If you are interested to hear the tale of John Crystal, you can listen to the May 22nd, 1995 episode, and you could hear when we cover John Crystal as our Jobber of the Week.
Thank you, sir.
Ryan, John Crystal is definitely still a jobber.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No question about that one.
The ring gear and mullet almost guarantee it. As our competitors are getting ready in the ring, we get a split-screen view of Henry Godwin down on the farm, introducing us to his family of pigs. His statement is simple, but comes across as genuine. So far, so good on the hog pen gimmick match, I guess. The work here in the ring isn't bad, especially when Crystal starts a brief offensive with some good working punches being thrown, but ultimately this is a squash match that's just shy of 2.5 minutes, so there isn't much else to say until we get the pedigree and the 3 count. Serviceable, I think, is the best way to describe it. Joe, what did you have on this match?
Did you hear that Howard Finkel got slopped? It must have happened over the weekend.
Yep.
The match itself, I think that Helmsley, I was very entertained by the slapping, just the nonstop slapping to John Crystal. He gives him a pedigree and then he just slaps him in the face. I laughed my ass off. So John Crystal is absolutely still a jobber and certainly got the jobber treatment tonight.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Jobber treatment from beginning to end. I agree with you, Bartlett. I thought that, I'm not crazy about the gimmicked hog pin match that Godwin and Triple H are going to have, but I thought this was a good little video of Godwin, feeding his pigs down in Arkansas, and it was short and to the point. I think Godwin always does a pretty good job, and that continued here. I thought an interesting thing that got pointed out by Vince at the beginning is that Triple H is still undefeated. So apparently that loss to The Undertaker at Survivor Series doesn't count because it wasn't a singles match. So,
okay. Yeah.
So yeah, he is, I know we've talked about how that might hurt him, but I guess technically he's still undefeated. And then, you can't really talk about the match much. The King ignores it. Vince ignores it. The King does his Barbara Walters impersonation again. This one's followed up by an Oprah impersonation. And then by the time he's done with that, Crystal's caught in the pedigree. 1, 2, 3, and it's done. Yeah, you said it already, Bartlett. This was serviceable. The ring work was decent, solid, but very ignored and kind of just your standard jobber match here.
It made me kind of realize that we're kind of seeing less and less of these as time goes on. And obviously, we've been seeing less and less jobbers. We're starting to cycle through some old favorites and people that we've already covered. And just as far as the story goes, we are getting less and less jobber matches. Correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever Raw goes to 2 hours, isn't that the way that they kind of split up the 2 hours? The first hour was usually jobber matches, and then the second hour is when all of the power matches happen, with the exception of around the 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah, I believe so. And I think a lot also had to do with that 9 to 10 o'clock. Isn't that like a period where they were allowed to kind of amp up the violence and nudity and all that stuff?
Yeah, they referred to the second hour as Raw is War during that time.
Yeah.
I think.
I would assume it's pretty safe to say that once Raw goes to 2 hours, we're probably going to have an uptick in the amount of jobber matches.
Well, we're going to have an uptick in, I think, the amount of matches in general. It's 2 hours. We're going to have to. But storytelling as well.
Yeah. Something that I had to point out also with the Henry Godwin vignette, I guess you want to call it, down on the farm. What really amazed me about this is that this is something that's putting over a gimmick match, which I'm on the record as absolutely hating gimmick matches in general. I'm a fan of just a straight up, solid, clear match. But just something about Godwin's delivery of this was just so, I hate to reuse the word, but genuine. If this were any other, I dare say, character actor, which is some of these fucking gimmicks can be, the cartoony shit. If Godwin had done the cartoony shit on this, I think it would have automatically turned me off. But it really kind of seemed like he was just a good old boy down on the farm, and I believed every second of it. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick. I don't know what it is, but Godwin just isn't really doing anything wrong here at all so far.
I kind of agree. I mean, something about it just, to use your word, came off genuine. Complete agreement there.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to get some amazing news here. Marty Jannetty is going to be teaming up with Razor Ramon to take on the 1-2-3 Kid and Psycho Sid in tag team action. I don't think Vince mentioned when, however. Is that going to be at the In Your House?
I don't know, because I thought I heard Razor versus Dean Douglas is next week, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So I thought I heard Marty Jannetty versus Sid in a one-on-one match, but maybe I heard that wrong.
That's going to happen as well, I think.
Oh, what a treat.
It's just a whole mess.
You know what, though? Ryan, you were absolutely right. That women's match earlier summoned Marty Jannetty with the tassels, and here he is. We get the potentially great news that Owen Hart is offering an open contract to take on all comers at In Your House, with Owen cutting a great promo about the Heartbreak Kid falling to Owen the Heartbreaker. Owen says he's on a roll, hospitalizing people, and whoever gets that contract is going to wind up just like Shawn Michaels. Before we move along, just briefly, guys, Joe first, what do you think of the news of your two favorites, Razor Ramon and Marty Jannetty, teaming together, but also that promo from Owen Hart?
The Marty Jannetty stuff, these poor people of Richmond, Virginia have to put up with that. Owen Hart, I thought at first, I was like, well, this is sort of the, hey, we got nothing for you right now treatment, so we'll figure something out. But it was a good promo, like you said. So I am looking forward to Owen getting a fresh program started here.
I have nothing to really add about any match Marty Jannetty's in, so that's probably about it for that. But yeah, agree on the Owen Hart. When he cut his promo about putting people in the hospital, great job. Joe, you said they're kind of giving him spinning his wheel treatment here, but still, way to take what they're giving you and hit a home run with it.
Yeah, completely agreed. And that's a great way to look at it. We haven't been doing a whole lot with Owen, but now we're pretty much just spinning the big wheel. Let's see who it lands on and see what we can get going. That segment will take us into our last match of the night. The Undertaker, with Paul Bearer, defeats Sir Mo with Kama and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase by pinfall in 4 minutes. Ew. The first thing we see is Kama on crutches, and he is looking surly about it. The $1 Million Man introduces Sir Mo as the true opponent here, and Sir Mo comes out looking like he's a good 50 pounds heavier than when we last saw him in tights. Shocking how badly out of shape Sir Mo is. We'll cut to commercial while things get situated, only to find out that next week on Raw, Dean Douglas is going to be challenging Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title. Once again, this feels like deja vu. We come back in time for The Undertaker's entrance and requisite crowd pop. The match finally gets started, and Taker immediately goes to work making Sir Mo look like shit. I mean that as a compliment to The Undertaker and as an insult to Sir Mo. Is it just me, or does it look like Mo was wearing a diaper underneath his thing there? We get another commercial break as Vince is teasing that he saw Mabel somewhere. Ongoing shenanigans throughout the match, various interferences from the $1 Million Man and Kama, until finally they decide to walk away. Oh, by the way, Kama was faking the injury the whole time. Surprise, surprise. The Undertaker hits Sir Mo with the choke slam, and Sir Mo sells it with a full-on seizure. And we can't just let this happen without Mabel showing up. Mabel comes down and makes a grab for the chain that used to be the urn, that plot device that was hanging on the ring post this entire time, and the whole point of The Undertaker taking on Kama, but The Undertaker grabs it out of his hands just in time. But then Yokozuna appears, with Jim Cornette, Yoko climbing into the ring and challenging The Undertaker by slapping himself in the chest repeatedly. This was all a ploy, though, to distract The Undertaker. Undertaker hands the chain off to Paul Bearer to answer Yokozuna's challenge, but then King Mabel hits Paul Bearer and runs off, waving the chain in the air like the fucking Repo Man. And once again, deja vu. Another commercial break, and back to ringside. Next week on Raw, Marty Jannetty will be taking on Psycho Sid in singles action, as well as that Intercontinental title bout between Razor Ramon and Dean Douglas. And that's it. We fade to black on this episode. Ryan, as our resident asshole for The Undertaker, please get us going on this match and the way that Raw ended tonight.
Motherfucker. I mean, look, we thought we were getting a match with Kama, which I think we all stated last week sounds at least intriguing.
Yeah.
And then the moment I saw him coming down on the fucking crutches, I knew this was going to be ruined, but I didn't know to the extent. They fucking announce fucking Sir Fucknut Mo, and I just about pull whatever little hair I have left out of my fucking head. I mean, this was fucking disgraceful. And then the match doesn't even really happen. It doesn't even happen. We just have Ted DiBiase get involved, and then, like you said, surprise, surprise, Kama's not hurt. Double team on The Undertaker. All right, he finally gets back in. He starts manhandling Fucknut Mo, and he's trying to do what the crowd wants. He's trying to do all The Undertaker's signature fucking moves here, right? But Mo's so bad at selling them, they all look terrible. Everything just looks like shit. He then choke slams Mo. He choke slams him, and he fucking twitches and convulses like he's, I don't know, possessed by something. And then to top it off, Mabel fucking comes down. We thought we were done with the Mabel feud, but no, we're just going to circle it right back to Mabel. How fucking disappointment. I was, if you can't tell, a little bit angry about learning we're continuing the Mabel fucking feud. My God.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. I just want to say that the fact that The Undertaker is just being covered in this
shit,
this quicksand shit, and was able to just continue to be the legendary professional that he is just, it's so impressive to me. This is a man who shattered his orbital bone, and you're going to keep this program going. I mean, man, what a pro The Undertaker is for putting up with this, and I really hope it's over soon. Very, very soon.
I mean, for this shit alone, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah. I mean, seriously, though, like, you do this to anyone else, and they're done. Their career's over. Yeah. Like, it's shot. I can't believe Mo still has a job. I've been burying Mo for so long now, and as soon as I saw him come out, I wanted to shut it off. Yeah. I wanted to shut off the episode.
Yeah, I have not been this angry watching a match in a long time.
Like, it's Ted DiBiase, right? So, like, maybe have Sid come out or someone else. I don't know.
Someone.
But I will say, when Kama came out on the crutches, there was a kid up front in the Undertaker shirt that was giving him the business.
Yeah.
And for that kid, this is Richmond, Virginia, right?
Correct.
For that young man in Richmond, Virginia, I am very happy that he got to see his hero, The Undertaker, choke slam Mo directly to hell.
Yeah, this was bad. This was bad. All of it. I hate to say it. The Undertaker performed professionally. He did the best he could with what he had to work with, but literally everything around him was shit. He was living in a world of shit here. Just all of it. Mabel, even Yokozuna. I was not happy to see Yokozuna there and taking part in this. Mabel, obviously. The only thing that could have made this even worse is Bob Backlund coming out of nowhere and kicking Paul Bearer in the nuts.
Putting the chicken wing on him.
Yeah. If you're going to do this, have Yokozuna come out and have a match with Yokozuna. Like, why Mo? I mean, I understand you're getting this stupid fucking Mabel thing going, but...
Yeah.
Who the fuck wants to see Mo, especially to close out Raw?
No one.
I agree with that, but also, the thing that I was hoping for the most out of this was to finally put an end to the fucking urn angle and just move on.
That was another huge disappointment, is the fact that this thing with the urn still isn't done. Not only is it not done, we're now going to move the urn possession over to fucking Mabel.
Taking it from somebody who could have had a very good match with The Undertaker. I mean, they're friends in real life, they have that kind of chemistry. That could have been a good fucking match, but no, we're going to take that and just move it on over to Mabel. Just keep on kicking that dead fucking horse. All right, well, guys, that's it. That's the end of the episode. As I said, we've faded to black, so now we're going to take it to highlights and lowlights. Joe, please, why don't you go first?
This is really hard. This was a really bad episode of Raw, in my opinion. Between Bob Backlund and Sir Mo and just bad women's match, just a lot of really bad stuff here. But a highlight for me, I have to say, was Hunter Hirst Helmsley slapping the shit out of John Crystal after the pedigree. I really enjoyed that. Low light is Sir Mo. Sir Mo should not be closing out a fucking Raw episode.
Yeah, so agree. This was another tough week to pick, but for a completely different reason than last week. Last week, it was tough to pick the highlight because there were so many highlights to pick from. This week, there were so few to pick from. I ended up going with the Radford Ahmed Johnson match just because it was a solid match and we got to further illustrate Ahmed Johnson's power. So I guess that's the highlight. Low light, so many to pick from. That woman's match, of course, is very bad, but I'm guessing based on my reaction earlier, the just treatment of The Undertaker is my low light. How can you just continue to one of your biggest stars and biggest draws, gets the biggest pops of the night, and you're doing this to him? You're putting him up against fucking Mo. And then going to continue his feud with Mabel, which has been nothing but terrible matches. The man busted his fucking eye. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. What a low light.
And now he's wearing that appliance because of it.
Yeah, he has to wear an appliance because his face is busted because of this unprofessional, shitty-ass slow wrestler. My fucking God.
Well, guys, on my end here, well, first of all, I completely agree. Very shitty episode all around. I mean, there were a couple of good spots, so I'm not going to say that it was a complete waste of time, but man, there were some bad things happening here. Even down to the mundane announcements of Marty Jannetty being continually fucking pushed. But the selections that I made are actually all prime examples of problems in the case of my lowlights, which I'm going to say right now, there are two lowlights. I could not decide, but I think they're equally valid. First off, a prime example of shitty wrestling in the women's match. Absolutely a lowlight. This was just fucking terrible to watch. Forget the context that you're watching it in. The action, horrible. The second lowlight is our Mo match here, and specifically the finish of it. Fucking shitty storytelling here. A prime example of some of the worst storytelling we've gotten out of 1995. That being said, my highlight, I went with the Owen Hart promo. A prime example of a great, simple, straightforward, and energetic promo that was delivered clearly and concisely. And not only that, but we were pretty much writing a creative blank check for Owen Hart right now. And sky's the limit, baby. Here's hoping that we don't fuck this up. So with that one promo, I got a little bit of hope moving forward for Owen and getting a fresh paint of coats, or however the fuck they say it up in the big leagues. But
he will be facing Marty Jannetty.
Yeah. And then we'll have to decide if this podcast continues. So as I'm sure you've noticed, if you keep track of time, you've noticed that this has been a very short episode, and that's because this was kind of a blah episode of Raw. think back to our matches, jobber squash matches, and the kind of matches that we generally don't like to talk about unless we are bitching at length about how terrible they are. So again, short episode. We acknowledge that, and it's kind of surprising to us that there wasn't that much going on here. But again, you can only work with what you're given. So, Joe, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around November 27th, 1995 for us?
Yes, I do. I think the biggest piece of news here is that Smoky Mountain Wrestling has closed up shop. That was the organization owned by Jim Cornette, and it's being reported that Jim Cornette will continue to work WWF TV tapings, but that's all they know for now. If you subscribe to the Wrestling Observer, there is a very large article talking about all of the details about Smoky Mountain Wrestling and kind of giving a brief history on it and all of the reasons why Jim Cornette decided to close up shop. Dave Meltzer says that the Shawn Michaels collapsing incident was played up to look like a wrestling angle on the weekend shows, complete with telling viewers to call the 1-900 Shameless for a medical update on Shawn Michaels. It is also reported that Shawn is taking 8 weeks off to help heal some other injuries and to plow through Sunny.
Job right through her.
Oh, man.
Supposedly a Razor Ramon versus Goldust Intercontinental Championship match was scheduled for next month's In Your House event, but it has been scrapped because of the feeling that Goldust is not over enough to be that high on a card this soon. Word on the street is that Dean Douglas has provided WWF with his notice, and December's In Your House will be his final match. His reasoning in the notice was that his wife did not like him being on the road so much, but I think we all know that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Another casualty of the Clique, similar to Bam Bam and Jean-Pierre Lafitte during this time.
Is this, will he be going to ECW right now?
I can't remember. I don't know how soon it is until he goes back to ECW.
I feel like it was sometime in 96, so maybe he ended up bouncing around somewhere for a little bit until sometime.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not real sure, but we'll see what happens. That's supposedly going to be his last match, so we'll see. And I will end on a good note here. Jeff Jarrett has reached a deal to come back.
Oh.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no details as to when, but Jeff Jarrett has agreed to come back. So look for him to come back very soon. And Jeff, we could certainly use you right now.
Indeed.
And that is all.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. And if you like what we're doing here and you want to connect with us, you can find us on every major social media and podcast subscription platform by searching up the handle Wrasslin Raw. That's WRASSLINRAW. And you can tack @gmail.com onto that if you ever need to get a hold of us. While you're there, don't forget to click subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know about the fastest growing wrestling podcast in the world. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on December 4th, 1995, with matches featuring Bob Holly, the Brooklyn Brawler, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.